If she wasn't 9.5 feet, she wasn't an inch. She looked right at me. She laid her ears back and growled. I've seen a monster. I've seen a monster. A werewolf.
Welcome back to the Cryptid Creatures podcast. I am Brian, and with me as always is my co-host Todd. What's up, buddy?
How's your week been, man?
It's been good so far, so good. So far, so good.
Well, it's going to get better because when we drop this episode, we're going to be in Lexington, Kentucky at the Crypticon.
We are going to be at the CryptidCon.
For sure.
Man, I'm excited for this.
Me too. If you guys get this early Sunday and listen to it, come over and check us out at the Clarion Convention Center in Lexington, Kentucky. Sorry,
if you're around that area.
If you're in that area. But yeah, so that's coming up. Man, this episode, dude.
Yeah, this one, wow.
This guy, he's a great speaker, Roy.
Yep.
And, you know, of course, my favorite kind of encounter, the Dogman.
Yeah, the Dogman.
Or
the Rougarou.
The Rougarou.
Because this was in Louisiana.
This was Louisiana. God, these things scare the shit out of me. This is just a crazy encounter. And Roy's a great storyteller. So
yeah, he is. He's a good one. I like it. It's going to be good.
It's going to be a good one. So anyway, guys, appreciate the listens. We won't waste any more time. Let's bring Roy on. You ready?
Let's get him.
All right, here we go. Roy, welcome to the show, man.
Hi, Todd. Hi, Brian. How you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
Real good. We're happy you're here.
Well, hopefully this is the last time you'll have some old chocolate on the show to show you members. So
that's all right.
Well, so Roy, we saw you on an episode of These Woods Are Haunted, and your encounter really amazed us, and we wanted to get you on here and hear your encounter, have you tell it on our show, and we're really excited because your encounter is very intriguing and very awesome sounding. So, how old were you when this encounter happened, Roy?
21.
Okay. And where
I
were
was
you?
21 years old.
Where were you living at the time?
I had left from Nebraska and went to. Well, let me tell you how it happened.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and just tell your story?
Yeah, just get into it.
We're listening.
Well, I was actually living with my cousin and his mom and another cousin. Normally, you would call your cousin's mom your aunt, but because of her age, she's not trying to hear that. So I just called her by her first name. So she's going to be Pat, and that's it. But Pat allowed me to move into the house at 16. That's when I decided I knew everything. My mother and my father couldn't tell me nothing. I'm ready to be my own man. Well, you guys know when you take that route, you've learned the hard way. And I did, but every lesson worth learning is worth learning. So I learned that. But she came in home from work one day and she said, we're going to have a family meeting. Usually when that happens, somebody didn't do a chore. Without a doubt, you cut the grass, sweep the floor, wash the dishes, do some laundry. You didn't do something. Now we got to sit at the table and everybody going to get fussed at. Well, that's not what she talked to us about. She actually was sitting us down to inform us that within a couple of weeks, she was going to be moving to New Orleans, Louisiana. And she was going to leave us in the house. Me, an 18-year-old boy, a 16-year-old boy, and a 15-year-old boy. Every teenage boy's dream. 3-bedroom house, full basement, 2-car garage, no parents.
Yeah, no kidding.
It just brings back memories. I'm sorry, but so we had this conversation, and we was looking at, me and my cousin looking at her like, wait a minute, what we gonna do when you gone? And she said, I'm leaving the house in my name, so y'all got somewhere to stay. I didn't think about it till years later that my aunt is about to leave her 16-year-old and 14-year-old son in Nebraska, and she's moving away. In today's world, that's not considered a good parent. But I'm not going to say that about her. I'm just saying in today's world. So she called me in the kitchen after we had this conversation. She said, could you help me drive to Louisiana and unload the U-Haul? And I'll put you on a Continental Trailways was still in existence. And she said, I'll put you on a Continental Trailways back to Nebraska. You think you can help me drive? I'm like, yeah, in the summertime, I got nothing else to do. But also, I was going through a breakup with my first serious relationship, a little bit more than 2 years. And, I was dealing with it, but it still bothered me, young, first time I really understood what love meant. So getting out of town would have did me good at that time. So I'm like, okay, I'll go. So we left the following week instead of 2 weeks, packed up the house and left. Drove to Louisiana. It took 35 hours. That was a long drive.
That's a long drive.
But we got there, unloaded the beds, took them up. We just crashed and then finished unloading the U-Haul the next day. When turned that in, and she's like, okay, I'm going to give you a tour of the city. You see go get you some good food. I've been in Nebraska all my life. Little bitty Omaha. You don't have blackened catfish there. Shrimp, 99 cents a pound. All this seafood you can get cheap. And then not to mention New Orleans cooking.
Oh, man. Yeah, the best.
Man. So she took me to a restaurant. We ate and we was talking. And later on that evening, we went down to the French Quarters. As soon as I got there 2 minutes later, I'm not trying to go back to Nebraska. I got people walking up and down the street drinking. You got these clubs you can go into. The cops is not harassing you.
Yep.
Everybody having a good time. I'm like, if you did that in Nebraska, you're going to at least be in the drunk tank overnight. So I'm staying. I want to stay. And she asked me, are you sure this is what you want to do? She said, well, aren't you still going to go to school? I'm like, I can do that down here. I graduated high school. I'm getting prepped to go to college. She said, well, if you're going to stay with me, you're going to have to help pay the bills. I can get a job. I can do both of them, Pat. Why can't do both of them? I just want to stay. So that was our agreement, and that's what I did. Within 8 days, I secured a job at this clothing store called Chess King. A lot of people will remember Chess King. I mean, back in the 80s, the late 70s.
Oh, yeah.
If there was a look you wanted to get, you went to Chess King. If you want to look like the flock of seagulls, you come to Chess King. You want to look like Michael Jackson, you come to the
Chess King.
Chess King. So it was mainly, yes, sir. It was mainly a men's clothing store, but we did have a small department for women. So I'm in the store, my 9th day, and this girl came in. Now, I'm looking at her, hanging, restocking the shelves, putting clothes up, and I've looked at her again, and, well, it's been a while since I had a girlfriend, and when she came in, I'm going to tell you right now, she had everything that Uncle John needed. Everything. So I'm standing there looking at her like, okay, you need to come up with a plan. Well, how are you going to approach her? Because I'm at work. I haven't worked there that long. But even back then, sexual harassment could get you fired, whether it was with a coworker or a customer. So I got to think of the right way to approach her. So I just walked over to her, asked her how she was doing, and she needed some help. She told me no, she was okay. And as I walked away, she said, well, do you have any more Z-shirts in different colors? I said, let me go on the back up. I went back there. We had 4 more colors. I brought color of each shirt out and held them out so she could see them. And she decided she was going to get 2 other ones from the back. And she bought, I believe she bought a skirt, or was it slacks? It was one of the 2, but she bought some bottoms too. So I'm standing there talking to her, and I asked her what her name was. She told me, and I'm like, well, I'm new in town and I ain't got nobody to show me around. I don't know nobody down here. Think you could like to go out on a date with me? Give me a tour of the city. And she's like, she looked me up and down for a minute. You know how women gonna take their time and they look at you like, is he worth it?
Yeah.
Is he worth it? Is it gonna be worth my time? So she did that for a few seconds. She said, yeah, I'll go out with you. I said, all right. Why don't you let me get that telephone number? She looked at me and then she looked down the floor, and I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, I know I checked both her hands for rings. So I know she's not married, or maybe it's in the cleaners, or maybe she just got married, don't have one. But I didn't see a ring, so I normally assumed she wasn't married. And she told me, no, I'm not married. I'm like, well, I can't have the number. I said, okay, then give me your address then. I'll just come and get you. Well, I can't give you that either. Wait a minute, what? You gonna go out with me, but where are we gonna meet? How am I gonna come and get you? You know, how am I supposed to do this? She said, well, there's a park about 2 blocks from my house. Meet me there. Just be there at 7 o'clock. I said, you gonna be there for real? She said, I'll be there. I said, okay. So she gave me the name of the park. And my boss the whole time is standing behind the counter just watching this because nobody else is in the store. And she's looking at me, and I'm every now and again, I'm looking over at her like, do I need to, cut this short, or am I okay? And she said, wrap it up, wrap it up, Roy. So we talked for approximately 10 minutes. And I said, okay, I'll meet you at the park. I'll see you Friday. This was on a Wednesday. It was July 7th, 1981. It was on a Wednesday. I walked her to the door and held the door open for her. When I opened the door, the angle of the sun was coming at an angle, so it would come into both of the main windows and then the door. So when she went out, she was in sunlight, and she turned around to tell me bye. Just as she spun, I was looking at her, but she already had some beautiful eyes. They were like hazel and green with little gold flecks in the pupil, iris. I'm sorry, the iris. And when she turned, I thought I was imagining it for just a hot second. But then I'm like, I ain't never seen eyes like that in my life. She got some gorgeous ass eyes. And around her pupil, there was just like a gold ring, just a slight gold ring, but it was only because the sun hit at the angle. When she turned her face like that, completely out of sun, it was just red her eyes again. So I'm like, wow, now you got some gorgeous eyes. I really got to get to know you. Now I got to find out what your secret is. That's what I'm thinking to myself, girl. I say that. So she left the store. I walked over and talked to my boss, and I said, where's this park at? And before she even answered, she said, you pretty slick. You know that? I said, what does that mean? She said, I listened to everything you said to that girl. She said, you're pretty slick to be so young. I'm like, well, one day when I grow up, I want to be a wordsmith. And she kind of, I want to be a wordsmith. And that's what I have been spent a lot of my life becoming, a wordsmith. But it's just because I like learning one new thing every day. And I never want to be in a conversation where somebody's talking and they're using words that I can't comprehend. That drives me crazy. So I started learning, reading the dictionary 3 times from cover to cover. I'm fluent in my stuff. And then when I went to school, English literature was my major. So I'm working on being a wordsmith. So wow. My boss gives me directions after she get done ribbing me about how smooth I was. And, she drew a map for me. I used to have that thing, but I actually think when I moved in 1984 or 1985 that I left it in a box. But I thought I still had it. I went through my journal. If I had it, I would have pulled it out. But she drew this map and showed me exactly how to get to the park. It was up in Metairie, Louisiana. That's about 22 miles from where I'm at.
Right.
So Thursday come and go, Friday come, I'm excited. It's Friday. I got a date tonight with a beautiful woman. It's Friday. I'm feeling pretty good. 5 o'clock come, I'm going to get off. I don't have to go home and get clothes. I work at a clothing store. So I just bought my outfit I was going to wear on the date that night right here at the store. So I left out of there about 5:20, 5:30, and I arrived at the park it was about 6:54, 6:55, maybe 6:56. But I know I was early, and I walked in the park, and it was a good sized park, not huge. But if you got 100 people in there, they would be looking for elbow room. But it had a basketball court with a tin roof over it. A lot of outside courts in Louisiana do just simply because of the amount it rains. And it never sprinkles. It just comes down either sideways or in buckets. You never get that bloop, bloop, bloop warning where you can run or you're going to get wet. So it wasn't raining that night, of course, but it was my guys playing, and there were some guys sitting on the 3-tier bleachers that they have on. That's what they had around the park. So there's people sitting on there spaced out. So I sat down on one end, and I'm sitting there waiting, looked at my watch. Okay, it's 7:01. I'm good. This guy gets up and walks over to me and just start talking to me. He said, hey, man, how you doing? Like, I'm doing all right, man. How you doing? He's like, you want to play some basketball? And I kind of looked at what I'm wearing and looking at him like, no, man, I'm not dressed to play basketball. He's like, oh, what you doing here? I said, I'm here to meet somebody. Oh, who was that? Stop right there. Total stranger gets up and walks over to me and start talking to me. And then you start asking me about my personal business. So I just looked at him and said, well, when she get here, if you know her, you see her, you'll know exactly who I'm here to meet. So let's just do it like this. He said, oh, okay, man. He said, well, my name is Herman, by the way. I said, okay, my name is Stub. I gave him my street name. I don't know this dude. I'm not about to tell him my name is Roy right then. Mm-hmm. It's just the way things were with me back then. I'm not saying that were the times. It was just me like that. So these 5 other guys get up and come over and they introduce themselves. And every one of them asked me, hey, man, you want to play basketball? No, I'm not here to play basketball. I'm waiting on somebody. Oh, yeah, who's that? When she get here, you'll see. You'll know. Just be patient. Now, it's about 7:15 now. And they went and played basketball. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching them play and I'm checking my watch. Okay, 7:30 come and go. 7:45 come and go. Started getting that feeling in my solar plexus. You're going to be by yourself tonight, Roy. She's not coming. Mm-hmm. So 8 o'clock came. I got up and I'm like, okay, where can I go? The only place I really need to go is down in the quarters. But I got to drive all the way back down to New Orleans to do it. So the guy said, hey, man, what you going to do? You leaving? Where's your date? You got stood up? You know, stuff like that. I'm like, all right, I'm going to stay and play basketball with y'all, which I did. I went in the bathroom. Well, let me back up because I'm a fisherman, too. So I always keep a fishing pole and a small tackle box in the trunk of my car. And I had that in my car. But I also keep a change of clothes because you never know when you're driving, you're going to see a body of water that's begging for you to fish it. So and I had some tennis shoes in there, too. So I just went in the bathroom, changed clothes in the bathroom, put my clothes in the car, and I came out there and played basketball with them. Now, I'm going to stop right here because I got to back up for just a tick. The car that I had at the time was a 1978 Monte Carlo. I had got it that Thursday. Crushed velour seats. It was copper with a half Landau top, half white Landau top on it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. That's my baby.
Yeah, nice car.
So I pulled that up to the park and I got out. Now we played basketball. I'm going to get back to where I was at for the next 4 hours because in Louisiana at this time, our outdoor basketball court, Monday through Thursday, the lights in the park will stay on until 9-10 o'clock. Friday and Saturday, they'll stay on until midnight. And then Sunday, they don't cut any power on at all. You just play by natural light until it get dark. So we played until midnight. Now, I've been playing basketball with these guys against them for 4 hours. I've seen each of them up close by defending them or passing the ball to them because we got light and stuff. So I have a real good picture in my mind of each one of their faces. So 12 o'clock come, the lights just cut off. Click. It's pitch black. Okay, we stop playing basketball, and I'm like, I've been playing basketball. Then I check with the time. I'm like, it's midnight. I've been playing basketball for 4 hours, drinking this hot park water out of this faucet. I need a cold beer. So I asked him, I'm like, hey, fellas, where's the closest liquor store at? I want a beer. And this one guy named Diamond said, well, hey, we talking about that right now, man. We putting our change together to get us a 12-pack or something. You want to come and go with us? Now, here at this particular point is where I had a decision to make that could have changed my life. I could have lowered my vanity about my car and let these 6 sweaty, little fragrant guys get in my car and we ride around to the liquor store in safety. But because I'm not putting y'all in my car, get my crushed velvet all sweat, and then it's going to dry me hard like a sponge. You're scratching your back. No, that's not happening. So I'm like, okay, I'll walk with y'all. So we exit the park. We exit out the back of the park and enter the street. And you walk down the street till you hit these railroad tracks. Now, on the street, you can see Airline Highway because that's the highway I took getting up there. And it's 2 lanes coming and going. They've since changed the name of that to Airline Road, but it used to be Airline Highway back in the 80s. So we walking out of the park and we hit the tracks. And I'm looking like, why we got to be going this way? It's dark down here. Because why we just didn't go down the street? That's what I'm thinking to myself. I didn't say anything out loud, but once you get on the railroad tracks and you walk across the street, as soon as you get past the sidewalk that's coming down, you know, the sides of the railroad tracks fall away to where you're on a slight incline. You know how railroad tracks are. And to my immediately left, there's 3 buildings. There's a junkyard, a tire shop, and a lumber yard. And behind them, there's that tall chain link fence. They got the 3 strands of barbed wire. I think it's 6 foot, but I know sometimes it could be 8 foot, but it got the 3 strands of barbed wire at the top. That's what ran behind the buildings all the way down. Now, behind each building, almost directly in the center of each building, there's one street light. And it's illuminating just a certain area. So if you're walking down the railroad tracks, when you get up under the light, you're in the light. But before you can get fully up under the second light, you got to walk through this area of gloom. And it's pretty so dark that if you're like 5 or 6, 7 feet away from me, I can see your silhouette clearly because I'm standing in one light and you in the area between, but I'm looking at your silhouette because it's lit up behind you. So I can clearly see your silhouette, but ask me if I can tell, is that Brian standing there or is that Todd? No way. I just know somebody's standing there. Not that that's what happened at that time. I'm just giving you an idea what the lighting was like. So to the right is a field of thistles. And if you don't know what thistles are, they're a plant that starts out like a dandelion. And then they grow in Nebraska. They usually get between 5 and 6 feet tall, and they get that single purple flower on the top. Mm-hmm. But the leaves that it has on it, actually those hypodermic needles that they call thorns, them things can stick you pretty good, man. Mm-hmm. Well, it was a field of them to the right, but because it rained so much in Louisiana, I was up on the railroad tracks, and I was barely able to see over the top of some of these. So I'm engaged in between 7.5 and 8 feet, the top of those thistles. And about 150 yards is how it ran if you're standing facing forward. But if you're standing looking the way the tracks ran, they just went down until it went into the darkness. And so I'm looking like, damn, this is kind of weird. It's dark out here, but let me go at the fellas. I'm with them. I figured if they was going to do something to me, they was going to get me or they was going to try, but I just didn't get that feeling from them. I mean, I talked to them. They just seemed like young, everyday, average people that was trying to make it however they could. You know, they ain't trying to rob nobody, sell drugs, playing basketball. Maybe you got a part-time job or something. Maybe you don't have a job. You look for a job. Just regular dudes that's what I felt. So we walking down the railroad tracks, and the order that we're in is there's 3 in the front, 2 in the middle, and me and Herman are bringing up the rear. So I think we were almost under the first light, and Herman started asking me questions. He said, "Hey man, let me ask you something." I was like, "What's that?" He said, "When you got a newborn baby," he said, "how much do they eat?" I said, "Usually about 2-3 ounces." He's like, "Oh." He said, "Then what you do when they get done eating?" I said, "You got to burp them, get that air bubble out of them." And I kind of cocked my eyebrow like, what? But I'm like, okay, maybe he just wanted to know that particular question. Maybe it was a joke or something. So anyway, then he asked me, "Well, if the baby gets sick, what do I do?" You got to find out what's wrong with him. He's like, "Well, how do I do that?" And I just kind of looked at him like, dude, you have to figure out what's wrong with the baby. If they got a fever, colicky, constipated, whatever. You got to figure out what's wrong with him. Mm-hmm. So I'm starting to wonder, really, like, why is he asking me these questions? And then he asked me, he said, "Well, how often do you have to change them?" "As needed." He said, "Well, what does that mean? When you smell it, that means you got to change it." Now, I asked him after that, I said, "Okay, man, why are you asking me all these questions about kids?" Because I'm starting to think, are you trying to set up for some nefarious purposes? Or, I don't know why he's asking me this. He said, oh man, he said, "I know I probably freaked you out, didn't I?" I'm like, "A little bit." He said, "Well, my girl is about to have our first baby, and he's going to be here either this week or next week." He said, "And I'm scared to death, Roy." He said, "Man, I don't know nothing about being no father." He said, but I don't want to fail. He said, but I don't know how to succeed. Now, I'm not speaking exactly what he said. I'm, putting mine in. And I told him, I'm like, well, you know what? First thing I need you to do is take a deep breath. And he said, now what? I'm like, and now it begins. He said, what? I'm like, to start the beginning to the change of your life for the next 18 years. I said, but don't be afraid. Look at it as a journey you're about to go on that you actually get to have more than 50% control of. You get to raise a child. You get to instill good values or bad values in them. You can help them with their schoolwork there's all kinds of things you can do, but you're going to be a father, man. The first thing you need to do is learn how to love your child and be a father to them. Don't get her pregnant and then leave her. She's 3 or 4 months. And evidently that wasn't what he was going to do because she was really close to giving birth. So he thanked me and he's like, man, I'm still scared. I'm like, talk to your mama, talk to your grandmother. Now, what I didn't tell him is at this time, I was already a dad at 16. So I did know some things, but I was by no means an expert, not like I am now. And I'm still not an expert. But he thanked me and I'm looking around as we talk. And then he said, did you see something? I said, no, man, I'm just looking around because the dudes had, the other fellas had walked down the track a little bit, when they didn't hear us because there's those white rocks on the railroad track. So, when you're walking, it's crunch, 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 crunch. Mm-hmm. So imagine 7 sets of feet crunching down the railroad track. You're not going to be able to hear a lot of noises that are lower than that sound. But I could hear cars going up and down Airline Highway because they're just on the other side of this building. They might be 50 feet away. Well, maybe a little bit further side of the building, but it's close enough to run to if you get the opportunity. At least that's what I was thinking if something happened. So I just was looking around. He said, did you see something? I'm like, no. I said, why you ask me that? He said, well, it's a black dog that stay in his junkyard right here. He said, it's a big black one too. He said, I think he's half Rottweiler and Labrador, half Rottweiler and German Shepherd. He said, but he big, man. He said, but sometime he get out and if he see us walking down the track, he gonna run up at you. He said, just pick up some rocks and start throwing them at him and hollering. He'll pump his brakes and then turn and go off, but he gonna still bark. I'm like, but he ain't gonna try to bite me. He's like, well, he's a dog, but usually if you throw rocks at him, it usually work. I'm like, okay. So we're walking down the tracks. Now we're in that area, that first area of gloom between the first 2 lights. And I'm looking around, man, we just still walking. And I turn my head to the right because on the other side of this thistle field, you can actually see houses. It's the back of them. Some of them got the back porch light on, but you can still see the outline of the houses. So there's people right where we're at. We're in the city. We're not in the forest. We're not on the outskirts of town. We're in the city. And I turned my head and was looking that way, and I seen something black come out of the thistles. But I didn't clearly see what it was. It was like, did you see my hand? That's what I saw. Just a blur. And my first instinct was to get out of Dodge. Now, to me, that really didn't make that much sense at that time because, as I said, I'm 21 years old. I'm in my prime condition. I can bench 350 pounds. I can squat 500 pounds. And I run a 4.340. So when I get ready to get out of town, I'm going. And I'm going fast. I took maybe 4 or 5 steps and I heard what sound like a body. Well, I ain't gonna say body, but when somebody fall on rocks and they slide a little bit, you hear that boom. Mm-hmm. That's what I heard. And the next thing I know, I'm about to hit that stance while I lean into it and I hear, don't leave me. But I've never heard somebody say, don't leave me like that. Never. I think you could have been getting skinned alive and you still wouldn't be able to put that inflection in that voice when you say, don't leave me. It wasn't don't leave me, Roy. It wasn't don't leave me, fellas. It was don't leave me. But what I heard in his voice made me stop. Because I'm thinking that was that damn dog that came out of them thistles and it's getting ready to maul Herman. He'd either tripped and fell or it tripped him, but it's that damn dog. I can't leave this dude to let him get chewed up by this dog. Even though I really didn't owe him that. I just met him that night. I don't, and that's not trying to sound like I'm not a good guy or anything like that. I'm just saying, if you really look at it, I didn't owe him that. I could have kept running, and it is what it is. But that's not what I did. So I pumped my brakes and I slid a little bit on the rocks and I spun around. And as I'm turning, I bent down and I scooped up 2 handfuls of rocks. I got one cocked back to throw and I got the other one ready. And I ran forward 4 steps and I opened my mouth to, get out of here, get off of him. And then I stopped because what I'm looking at is either the biggest dog on the planet or I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. But Herman is laying on his back, propped up on his elbows, and he's looking up like that. He's not screaming. He's not struggling. He's not doing anything. Excuse the terminology I'm about to use right now, but for all intents and purposes, the look that was on his face was he looked like the village idiot. Mouth open, eyes just bugged out, and he just... Now, I couldn't see him at this time because of the angle of his face. I'm standing behind him. I didn't see this until later. But this thing is on top of him. It's not biting him. It's not clawing him. It's not doing anything. It's just looking him in his face. And it actually took, imagine this is the snout, okay? Then the snout down like that, you can lean in closer to whatever you're looking at. She was approximately 6 to 8 inches away from his face. And I didn't know it was a female at this time. I didn't even know what I was looking at other than a dog. But I'm like, that ain't no damn dog. What the hell is that? Now, when I started running, just like in the cartoons, when you hear somebody behind you start running, rather than turn around and look to see what they're running from, you gonna run with them and ask them, what you running from, man? What we running from? So they had started running, but I guess when they heard me, when Herman yelled or they heard me stop, they stopped too, but they were a little bit further down the tracks. And when they turned around, I don't know if they started coming back right then or shortly after that, but they started, what is that? What the F is that? What the blank is that, man? What is it doing to her? What is that? They calling. I'm standing here looking at it because I can't answer your question. I don't know what I'm looking at. I just know it's big and I see a dog head with ears. And then as I'm looking at it, I'm like, wait, are those shoulders? But because of the lighting, I could see a good silhouette, but nothing in detail. Not even Herman. I mean, I knew what Herman looked like, and he had this white T-shirt on. I actually had somebody sketched it for me, and that's now my profile picture on my Facebook page. But the guy sketched it, and that's exactly how it was. He had the coloring a little wrong. It should have been blacker, but for all intents and purposes, that's how that particular situation played itself out when he drew the picture. But
yeah, I've seen
anyway, so okay. So as I'm looking at this, I hear somebody behind me say, "Don't shoot it." Wait, what? What? Now, I'm not going to turn around and look and see who said this. I'll just know I'm standing almost smack dab in the middle of the railroad tracks. And I'm assuming that because of where I was at, they had actually fanned out to the right and to the left so they could see around me. And hopefully one of them was to the right or the left and one standing directly behind me, hoping they were going to take a shot and hit that thing, over my shoulder or by my body. And he didn't shoot, thank God. But as soon as he said that, as soon as that dude said that, this thing stopped focusing on Herman and they raised his head and looked right at us. And I'm like, I'm all kind of stuff going through my head. I mean, like, what the fuck is that? What is that? And then it came forward 2 steps. And by the time it took that second step, the front 1/4, maybe a little bit more of his body was in the light where I could see. But as it was coming forward, imagine how a lion or a mountain lion or something is stalking its prey when they got that belly down on the ground. That slow, deliberate movement. It was kind of like that, but it never went down like belly on the ground. It just came out like walking on all fours, but it was moving, boom, 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 kind of quick. But when it put its hand out into the light, where it came right out into the circle of light, I seen a hand. I didn't see no raccoon hand. The fingers might have looked like an older person, maybe with arthritis in the joints. But other than that, for all intents and purposes, it's a hand. And it's got 3-inch, 2.5, 3-inch claws coming off of each finger. And the hand is just like this, where you see my thumbs like that, and my 4 fingers are just like that. So I'm looking like, what in the blank is that? And the hand came down. Now the claws were curved like, hold on, I'm trying to find the camera, like that. They weren't wickedly curved like that, but they were curved like that, just enough so that when it put his hand down on the ground, the fingernails would hit the ground, but the very tip of the fingers wouldn't rest on the ground. But they were long, and her hand probably was about like that, 12, 13 inches. From palm.
Man.
No. Maybe, yeah, 12 from palm to middle fingertip, probably 12, 13 inches. Just the fingers. I mean, she could have reached out and grabbed my head and picked me up like that. Held me on display and everything. But I'm looking at this thing, and it was, when she was coming forward into the light, there was no internal eye glow. The only eye glow I seen was when she came into the light and her eyes caught the light that was available. That's when they glowed. And the color that best described me is a dead yellow. If you take that orange full moon and a white full moon and blend them, when you get to that perfect mix point, that's what the color of her eyes. And she had a black pupil right there. And I mean, she looked right at me. She looked right at me, but she looked at everybody else too. But she did one smooth motion, like, but it was just a slight hiccup, like, okay, see you. And then she went right back to focusing on the dude that had the gun. And she laid her ears back and growled. I stood right there and pissed on myself. And I'm not ashamed to say it. It wasn't very loud. It was almost like she didn't want anybody other than the people that were there to hear her. But I felt that in my body. I don't know if it hit me and went from my head down to my chest or came from my feet up to my chest. But I felt that. It was.
Wow.
I don't know if it was infrasound, but these things can move some air by not putting a whole lot of effort into it. I mean, it was like, and then you add about 8, 9 octaves of that, and then you can actually feel it hit you. Well, like I said, I urinated on myself, and that's when I started thinking, you getting ready to die. You getting ready to die, dude. And it's not going to be a pleasant death. You're going to feel every bite, every shred, every rip. It's a wrap, Roy. Why I'm still here is anybody's guess, but I was 110% sure that was going to be the night I died, July 9th, 1981. And it was not a full moon. So I'm looking at this thing. She's looking at us. The dudes are steady hollering and stuff. And I'm starting to think, okay, all these thoughts going through my head. How the hell do I get out of this? I'm going to die. How the hell do I get out of this? I'm going to die. How the hell do I get out of this? I'm going to die. I'm at a heightened sense right now. That's what I'm thinking. Thoughts just coming and going like that. And you discard them just as fast as they come because it's got to be perfect if you're going to survive. The only thing I could think to do was if I could make it to that fence and get up to the top of it, I'm going to get chewed up on that barbed wire, but that's better than getting chewed up by Dogman or Werewolf. So I'm thinking, okay, you're pretty fast, Roy. Kind of start to turn your feet in that direction. So when you go, just go. She evidently had stopped looking at me for a second, even though I was looking at her. But I stopped being able to hear the guys talking. I couldn't hear the cars on Airline Highway anymore. I actually couldn't. All I was hearing was this: boom, 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 boom. Later on that night, as I sat down, when I was recounting what happened to me, I realized that was my heart beating in my ear so loud it drowned out every other noise. I was scared. I was scared out of my long johns.
Oh yeah.
No ifs, ands, odds, or buts. And I mean, at this time, there's no other man, woman, child on this earth that I'm afraid of having a physical confrontation with. Andre the Giant, bring him on. Come get me. You so big, all I gotta do is make your big hindquarters run around for about 3 minutes, then I'm gonna chop you down like the tree you is, because you're gonna be out of breath. Come on, Hulk Hogan. I got 6 bullets in my gun. I ain't scared of you. But that thing right there, there's no way in hell I'm going to try to have any kind of physical confrontation with this thing. So I shuffled my feet, moved the rocks, and she looked at me. So what does Roy do then? He pisses his pants again. So now not only are both sides of my shorts wet, both of my Converse is soaking wet too. I'm like, now this was later on, of course, because I didn't care about that at that time. All I'm thinking is this. Either I'm lightening myself to get ready to really get out of Dodge and give her this extra weight, or I'm just getting myself ready to get ate. That was it. But she never made a move toward me. She came forward a little bit more into the light, maybe a half a step. Now, all this time when she first came into the light, when she came forward, her hindquarters were directly over Herman's face. So he could have been the one to tell you about the genitalia, if she had a tail, what her feet looked like. He would have been the one to ask that. But he's not trying to get up and get away. He's just laying in the same position. And she's basically ignoring him like, you're no threat. You're nothing. So as she's looking at me and I done urinate on myself again, here come the thoughts again. You're getting ready to die. Batman ain't coming. Superman ain't going to show up. What you going to do? Well, this whole encounter lasted approximately 7 minutes to the best of my guesstimation. And I based that on the time that we arrived at the liquor store. But she did something after that that I'd really like to have some answers to. If you've ever owned a dog that has fleas and they might be sitting next to you and you're petting them, and then they make that real quick move with the bite at the base of their tail or on their lower haunches, getting at that flea. It's a real quick move. They can go from just to have their head on your lap to whoop, and they down there biting. Well, she jerked like that. Not saying that she started biting at her haunches, and then she just jerked like something that hit her or got her attention. And she looked over and she stood up first. And that's when I got to see everything that I'm about to tell you now.
Take your time, Roy.
I'm sorry. Give me just.
No, you're fine.
Give me
You're
just
fine.
a minute, cause
Yeah,
Good,
take your time, man.
No problem. No problem.
Okay, as you guys know, I said I played basketball for 4 hours that night. I've been playing basketball a long time, and I know the standard height of a basketball rim, including NBA, is 10 feet. If she wasn't 9.5 feet, she wasn't an inch. She could have stood on her hind legs and dunked the basketball and had arm room to spare. And I'm looking at this thing, and she was so black that it almost looked like she was sucking the light. The light. She's almost seemed like she was sucking the light out of the air. I mean, you could see her, but imagine looking into like a black hole that's got a head and arms and legs and breast and teeth and that color, man. I don't understand what's going on with them. Why? I don't know if it. We'll have a conversation about that another day. I'm not going to get sidetracked, but she had splashes of gray on her coat, but not in a uniform pattern. It would have been more like a quilt work, a patchwork quilt, where you got color here, color here, color here, color here. But, or it could have been just the light hitting her like that. But it looked to me like she just had a splash of gray right here, a splash of gray right there. Not on her arms or her shoulders, but maybe another one down here. And her head, I had said her head was like 24 inches, but some of that was fur, the rough around the edge of his, some of that, but her head was so big, man, but her snout really wasn't that long. It was only probably about that long. Maybe it wasn't just long like the Nubis or the Dogman printed ones you hear about. It was short. I guess if I was to compare it to a dog, the best description I could give would be Alaskan Malamute, because it was broad, but it wasn't real long. But she raised her jaws when that dude pointed that gun at her. Her canines, every bit as big as a male African lion, possibly a little bit bigger. Wow. I'm talking, man, they didn't hang out below her jaw like some of them I've seen pictures of, but she has some impressive dental work, man. I mean, but every teeth beyond that, even the ones between her canines, imagine a bear trap, how they interlock like that and fit. Even on the side, her teeth wasn't like dog's teeth where they're flat. All of them were cutting teeth, like to eat meat. They were all cutting teeth. It wasn't like a dog. I never seen shit like that. Oh, excuse my French. I never seen anything like that.
You're fine.
And I'm looking, but she never opened her mouth to where I could see her tongue or anything. She just raised her jaws and gave you that evil dog grin, like, yeah. Somebody gonna die tonight, and it's probably gonna be you pointing that gun at me, you idiot. What you gonna do with that pop gun? Now, I didn't hear any voices in my head or anything like that. I didn't hear and I never got to see her hind feet. I got to see her arms, her shoulders, and them breasts. I'm not perverted. Don't take it like that. But she had four breasts. They were sitting stacked like this. But on her, they weren't ginormous or anything. It almost, imagine a woman that wears a 36C bra and then put that dimensions on that animal, but increase it in size because of her size, but it would look like she wore a 36C cup. And don't ask me how I know that. I'm just giving you the best
no, I get
guesstimation I can.
I get it.
They weren't, and she wasn't nursing. Yeah, I've owned many dogs.
Right. They were big enough for you to know that this was a female, not a male, obviously.
Yes. Yeah. And I've had plenty of dogs in my life. Got one right now, it's a male. But I've had dogs that got pregnant and whelped. You know what their breasts look like, man, when they fill up with milk? They just look like bags. Mm-hmm. Sway, a slight breeze will get them swinging. With her, absolutely not. They look like the breasts that belong on a woman that goes to the gym at least 4 days a week just to tone, not to bulk up, just to tone and maintain her figure. I probably could have took my hand and slid it like that in between the bottom one and across the top of the front when it was about that much space in between. Not that I did that, but I'm looking at this thing and I'm taking everything in. And right now, I just want to say one thing about my father and the lesson that he taught me and my brothers and my sister. And that lesson is this. God gave you eyes, ears, a nose, and a mouth. Each one of them function individually, or you can use them together. But also, when God gave us this, he gave you your best video recording equipment. He gave you your best audio equipment. So my dad taught us that. If your eyes see something, that's what your eyes are seeing. Don't let your brain tell you or ask you, did I really just see that? That's what you saw. So until you get proof that that's not what you saw, go with what you saw. If that's what you heard, go with what you heard. So that's what I did when I was recording it to myself, but anything but my brain, what I was seeing. I just didn't realize that I was getting such a good look and will remember things that I had seen in such detail. But thank God for my journal. I'll never forget what I see. And I'm going to give you a little bit more details about what I saw. The gums in her mouth were black and pink. I've seen that before in 2 dogs. One was a child, and I come to find out later on that that dog had cancer. That's why his mouth is that color. But there are some breeds of dogs that their mouths are naturally that color. But that was the color of the gums that I seen when she raised her jaws to look at them. Mm-hmm. Black and pink. I smelled her breath. I heard her breathing. Her breath smelled like she had ate something and then never, ever, ever brushed.
Probably
that
true.
Was her. I didn't smell wet dog. I didn't smell wet dog or any of these other smells. I didn't smell any of that. It just smelled like a canine that had ate something and never brushed their mouth. It smelled bad, but it wasn't like being by a packing house or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Her breath sounded like. Have you ever stood next to a cow and just listened to it breathe?
No, I don't think I have, but
or bull.
I think I know where you're going with this.
It's deep. I'm pretty sure now I am, not back then, because I know anything about cryptids or werewolves other than movies and books. But I'm pretty sure if she was running, you would be able to get a real good idea of how she sounded if she was a little bit gassed or had been exerting herself. And she wasn't breathing like that. It was just but because of the time that it lasted between when she inhaled and exhaled, they got some lung capacity. They have some serious lung capacity. I'm not going to even attempt to begin to tell you what I think it could be, because I'm not an expert on lungs, so I can't tell you that. But she wasn't loud. But here's the thing that really got me the most. When I finally got to see her in the lights and I was really got a chance to look at her, for her to come out of them thistles, why didn't she have all kind of debris in her fur? She actually looked like, when I seen her, every area that I seen, it actually looked like somebody had just got done brushing her. In another time, if I had seen her from 300 or 400 yards away through some binoculars, I'd have been like, that's a gorgeous creature. I don't know what the hell it is, but that's a beautiful creature. And she is built to do exactly whatever it is that she's supposed to do. And ain't nobody going to tell her she can't do this and that she can't do that, whatever that happens to be. So, like I said, I didn't get to see the hind feet. Claws, the talons were jet black. And they were probably, I'm not too good with the thickness on claws like that. So I'm going to say, how big would you say a claw of a blackberry is around? The claws, I don't know how big around a black bear's claw is, but them claws they're not flat like our nails.
No.
Hers were anyway. I can't speak for anyone else that I didn't see in person, but hers were like round coming out of her fingers. And one swipe, man, I'm just imagine one swipe. She could have opened me up from the rooter to the tutor. And everything that made Roy would have come spilling out. Uh-huh. Everything that made Roy would have come spilling out. And to see something that big and that black and them teeth and them claws and them eyes. I mean, when she looked at me, she looked me dead in my eyes. And it's like, not that I heard a voice or inside my head or audio, but when I was thinking about running to get on that fence, the look she gave me, the best description I can give is, go ahead, run, try it. Go ahead, run. See how far you get. And that's when I urinated on myself again. That was the second time. And that's when I stopped, because I guess I was out of faucet water. So she stood up. I didn't see a tail. I never said I seen a tail until this. When they put me in the dirt, I'm going to still say I never seen a tail, because of how she was facing us. And when she turned her body to look toward the thistles after she twitched, she didn't turn profile. She just turned at the shoulders and looked, but she was focused like, you know, what the hell was that? So when she did that, I took a chance to look in the direction that she was looking, and I saw 6 red lights. They were in a triangle formation. It was 2 in the middle, 2 to the left, and 2 to the right. If you're looking at them from an overhead view, they were in triangle formation. But they were only like 5-6 feet tall. They were back in the thistles about 60 feet, and it was so black back there that these lights, you could see them. Now, let me describe these lights to you because I've shared my encounter 4 times. And a lot of people seem to think that this was a female dogman on the tracks with pups. I clearly said I looked at her breast, and because of how many dogs I've owned and seen have puppies, she ain't had no puppies. She did not there with her. She had no pups with her because she was not nursing. Those breasts were too firm. They would have been full of milk, which means they would have been flapping. That's not the case. When she stood up, they gave a slight little jiggle like Jello does and then stopped. And she looked over in them thistles, and I took a few seconds. I looked and I was like, what the fuck is that? Excuse my French. And then I immediately started focusing on her. She slightly flexed her hind legs, and then she jumped off them railroad tracks and landed about 18 to 20 feet in them thistles. And when she hit the ground running, and she was headed directly toward them lights. This is what one of the top 3 things about this encounter that freaked me out. She was going so fast that when she laid them thistles down, they popped right back up like they had never been damaged. Now, she had to be on all 4s because I didn't see her head. But to the best guesstimation of speed, she would have been traveling about 55 or 60 miles an hour when she hit the ground within 3 strides. Now, you could see the thistles falling, and they was popping right back up. I watched it for approximately 4 seconds, and then I immediately ran, and Herman, you okay? Herman, you okay? Herman, man, you all right? Herman does respond. And this is when I see he got that village idiot look on his face. He got a little bit of drool coming out his mouth.
Good.
I'm grabbing him, trying to pull him up. His body is like a bag of, some cooked noodles. He's not helping at all. So we get him up. The other guys come running up and, Herman, you all right? He's not responding. I'm like, okay, it's time. We got to get the hell out of here. Let's just take Herman with us. Now, why they decided to do this, I'll never know. Because it seemed to me like we should have went back to the park. That would have been closer. But they said, no, man, let's go down here to the liquor store because it's closer. Now, they claimed we was taking a shortcut. And if we had to took the surface street, it would have took us probably about 30 minutes to get to the liquor store, and they would have been closed by the time we got there. So we walking further down the tracks past that 3rd light, dragging Herman. Every now and again, he'll put his foot down to kind of help us. Everybody's on high alert looking around, and we talking. Then they stop, and I'm looking. There's a path that we got to go through cutting through these thistles that they've been traveling up and down for years, the people in the neighborhood, to where they've wore the ground down to dirt. Nothing's growing, so you can walk like 2 abreast and walk through the thistles without worrying about getting stuck. Now, you only got to go through them at that point because you can see the liquor store probably about 25 yards. I didn't know they that thin down like that from where we had been further up the tracks. And I'm looking like, damn it, I should have went back when we was up there where that thing came. But I'm with the herd now, and I'm not leaving. Because one thing I know is this: I'm faster than at least 4 of the guys that I'm with. I'm going to make it through them thistles before they going to get through it and come hell or high water. But I'm not going to leave Herman because I'm committed now. I went back for him. I didn't run off and leave him. I'm going to try to see this through. Even though I got urine pants and urine white Converse on that now are probably yellow on the inside, but that's what I'm wearing. And we walking, we get to the back of the liquor store. We get around the side, we get to the front. Thank God we in light. We can see all around us. Thank God we in the light. Sit Herman down on this little ledge that borders the window to the liquor store that had a little lip on it. I sat him down on that, but I had to keep my hand in his chest to keep him pressed against the glass, because if I had to let him go, he would probably face plant it right there. So I'm holding him and 3 guys going, Diamond, Little Bit, and Shorty Mac. They went inside the store. And all of them start talking at once. Now, when we get to the liquor store, it's about 12:53. That's why I'm saying the encounter took that long, because we exited the park By the time they got done counting up money and steady flicking the lighter so dude could count the change, make sure Herman had gave him exactly $2 for his part of the beer. Yeah, we in the park like that. So it was about 12:33, not 12, quite 12:35 yet. And with as slow as we were moving, dragging him, it cost us a little bit more time. So we got to the liquor store about 7 minutes before it's supposed to close. But these dudes is in there talking to him, and this is what it sounds like. Hey man, can you call the police? There's a monster out in the back. Can you call me? Everybody talking at once. There's a monster out there. We just seen the monster. Look what they did to my friend. But everybody's talking at once, and this dude is doing this.
Just looking at him. Like, what?
After about 2 minutes of that, I seen him raise his hand like that. He said, you got 5 minutes. Make your selections. Come up here and pay for them. So I can ring you out. I'm getting ready to close up. No, man, you don't understand. You don't understand. There's a monster back there. It's a monster back there. This thing is back there, man. It's a werewolf. We seen a werewolf. Yeah, right. I don't know what y'all been smoking. I don't know what y'all shot up. I don't know what y'all was sniffing. Make your selections. Come up here and pay for them and leave my store. Or leave my store. I don't have time for this bullshit. I'm tired. I'm ready to go home and do all that stuff. They looking at him like, I can't believe this fool won't believe us. I can't believe he won't believe it. Not me. Them, that's how they're looking at him. So finally, they's like, well, whatever, man, we gonna leave then. Diamond was the last one to come out the door, and he turned while the door was open and said to the dude, man, is that your car parked in the back? He said, yeah. He said, do us a favor. At least move your car from the back of that building away from them thistles to the front so you ain't got to go out there in the back of that store, man, by yourself because it's a monster back there. Yeah, right, whatever. Have a good night. And he closed, pushed him out the store, closed the door, locked it. And I'm like, man, come here. Hold Herman. Let me go talk to him. So he come over and he takes over on Herman. I go over to the door and I'm not, I'm doing like this. Hey, come here. He's like, no, I'm done. And he walked around the corner, pulled the cash drawer out the register, and he started closing out his drawer. And I'm tapping on the glass like, hey, man, just come here for a minute. Just let me use the phone. And he did that. Go away. I'm closed. Okay, sure, you're right. So while I'm talking with him, I'm hearing the other guys talk. And I hear a little bit say, what is this white stuff in Herman's hair? What's this white stuff in his hair, man? Now, we were walking on these right rocks, and I'm thinking when hearing him, okay, he might have fell when he slid and put his head down on the rocks and got some of that white chalk on him. But he's rubbing. So finally, when the dude told me, go away, I walked down there and I'm like squeezing. I'm like, let me see what y'all talking about. And I'm looking at Herman. He's got a white spot on his head right here. I played basketball with this young man for 4 hours. I talked with him when he wasn't playing basketball from a little bit after 7 until I decided to play basketball with him. He sat right next to me. His head was completely black. Completely. So I'm thinking, like my grandmother said, sometimes you got to put some methylate on it. She calls spit methylate. Don't ask me why. But I licked my thumb and I started rubbing in his head. The white stuff didn't go away. I licked my finger again and started rubbing in another spot. No change. So I took my fingers and parted his hair down to his scalp. That white circle went all the way down to his scalp. I stood there and I looked at him for a hot second and said, I didn't know what to make of that. I had never heard of that at that time or anything. I don't even think I seen a movie where that happened. But now we got to get going. So now we got to take the long way around because the devil can show up in a blue dress. I'm not going back around that building and go back up them railroad tracks. That's not happening. So it takes us approximately 45 minutes to drag Herman, half carry Herman, all the way back to the park, and we're going down through the neighborhood. Any sound we heard that didn't sound like a car passing by, we stopped immediately. Everybody facing in different directions looking. But in between that, we talking. What the fuck was that thing, man? It was a werewolf, man. It was a werewolf. Yeah, but did you see it was a female? And Diamond, he kept saying it had titties. It had titties, man. That thing had titties. And I'm like, yeah, I seen that. He was like, man, what was that? I said, it was a monster. A werewolf is what we seen. So fast forward 40 minutes. After walking, we come to the park, go through the park, exit the other side, and go right across the street. And Herman's house is the second house from the corner. We go up in his yard. I set him down on the porch and put my hand against him to press him up against the railing. Same three guys that went in the store was the same three guys that ran up on the porch. One was banging on the window, one was banging on the door, and the other dude was standing there ringing the doorbell. Penny, 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 penny. Herman's mother wakes up. It's almost 2 a.m. She gets up and comes to the door. Who the hell is that knocking on my door like that? Like y'all the police. What the hell is going on? And of course, she got her night clothes on. I've never met this woman before. She know all these dudes because evidently they grew up together. So I'm listening to her talk, and she's like, what's going on? And once again, one person can't talk. You got 3 people. Something's wrong with Herman. We seen a monster. Something's wrong with Herman. She's like, wait a minute. What? Slow down. Slow down. What happened? Something's wrong with Herman. There was a monster. She said, a monster? She said, but like, what y'all done did to my baby? Herman, baby. Herman don't respond. She said, I'm talking to you, Herman. I'm looking at her, and she's looking at me like, okay, I don't know who you is, but she didn't say that. She just came over and she came down, and I moved out of the way, and she grabbed me by the shoulder and she said, Herman, baby. And then she kind of shook him a little bit and said, Herman, you better answer me. She moved. She basically let him go and started going up the steps, and I had to step in and push him back for a face planted. And she said, she got up on the porch, and this is what she said. Don't nobody leave. I'm going to call the police. Well, I'm going to find out what y'all did to my baby. As soon as she said that, I grabbed Herman by his arm and eased him back down onto the porch. And I exited her yard, and then I put that 4-3 to work as soon as I got out in the street. And I know I was hauling because 2 houses down, there were 3 people sitting on the porch, and I heard one lady say, what the hell is he running from? I didn't stop. I didn't stop. I ran to my car, popped the trunk open, in front of God and everybody. I stripped off them wet underwear and them wet shorts and them shoes and put on them shorts I had on. I ain't got time to put the drawers on. I just put the shorts on, and we jumped in my car. When I pulled away from that curb, them rear tires were smoking. I busted a Yui right there in the street. I didn't even stop for the stop sign to get on the airline highway. I went straight through it. I almost hit a dude, and I almost got hit because he pulled up next to me and he was giving me a real good piece of his mind. And I didn't care. I need to get home. Now, the reason I left like that is because I had bought a 357 before I left from Nebraska. Just for my own protection. I ain't trying to rob nobody, kill nobody, but if some trouble show up, I want to be prepared. But I didn't buy it from the gun store or the pawn shop. I bought it from Freddie Joe Billy Bob that's standing on the corner. And he assured me that he ain't never killed nobody with this gun. He ain't never robbed nobody with this gun. Right. But he need $100. I'm like, okay, well, I'll tell you what, it ain't gonna never get used for that unless I have to. So I purchased the gun and put it, I had it with me till I got the car, and I just kept it in the trunk of my car. Like a lot of other stupid people do, because the cops pull you over, find that gun in your car, and you can't prove it's yours. Well, Your Honor, yeah, like that. So that's why I had to get the hell out of Dodge, because this is what I know, even at that young age, from dealing with the police as a teenager in Nebraska. If they show up and Herman is in that state, the first thing they're going to think is he's under the influence of some type of drug. They're going to want to know where the drugs came from. Since we were with Herman, okay, where'd you get these drugs from? I don't know. Okay, get them against the wall, put them on the wall, spread them. Right. You go to ask me for my ID, I pull my driver's license out, then you be like, oh, you drive, you got car keys. Ain't nobody else got car. Which one of these cars is yours? Mm-hmm. Let's go down here and check and see if you got something there. You pop that trunk, is that 357? No, I'm going home. So that's what I did. Now, I got home. The first thing I did was I pushed the couch in front of the door. I went in the kitchen, unplugged the refrigerator, and pushed that out into the dining room. I plugged it back in and pushed it up against the couch. I went to the closet. I got my speed loaders down. I loaded 3 of them. I got my Jack Daniels green label down, put the pistol on the table, and I started drinking. I took 2 stiff shots just to get my hands to stop from shaking. And then I got up and I went and got my journal because I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, no, I got to write this down. I got to write this down. Now, a lot of the first pages in there, let's say the language is not suitable for this show because I was in a real bad place. I've seen a monster. I've seen a monster, a werewolf. The one thing my father, my mother, my grandparents looked me in my face, monster's not real, baby. Ain't no real monsters. Ain't no monster in your bed or in the closet. You liar. Unknowingly, of course, unknowingly. I say that with much love and respect because it was unknowingly. But you lied to me because you didn't even know.
How close were you to this creature, do you think, when you were at the closest spot?
When I initially ran forward to save Herman, it would have been approximately 10 feet.
Wow.
When she came forward, 6 or 7 feet.
Wow.
I tell you,
I got a real good look at this thing, man. She got whiskers. I got a real good look at her.
Yeah, you definitely described and answered all the questions I had for you with the description. That gave me some goosebumps too. A couple spots.
Oh yeah, a couple of them. Yeah,
for sure, man.
Me too.
That's an amazing story. What do you think? What do you think those lights were?
Think those were eyes?
Well, at the time this happened, I'm just thinking that they lights that were in a weird ass place. That's all I'm thinking. I'm not thinking I don't know anything about this government conspiracy about breeding facilities and portals and the UFO. Oh, I didn't know anything about any of that.
Right.
So all I'm thinking is, why the hell was this 6 red lights over there? 2010, I buried my father. I had a conversation with him in 2009 where I finally told him what happened to me. Actually, yeah, I finally told him what happened to me. Surprise, surprise. My dad didn't interrupt me. He didn't ask me any questions. The only thing he said was this: I believe you, son, simply because I raised you. He said, well, I don't raise my boys to lie. A man says what's on his mind. If you're wrong, you deal with the consequences of your actions. If you're right, you get your reward. But a man says what's on his mind and you don't lie. Because all you got to keep up with that one lie for the rest of the time you know that person. And that's a second job. Who the hell got time for that?
Yeah.
So he said, I know you're not lying to me. He said, no, I wasn't there. He said, but what really convinced me was when you told me, your father, that you pissed on yourself twice as a grown man. I said, that's the only thing. He said, we not peers like that. Once you potty train, you go to the bathroom.
Right.
Yeah.
He said, so whatever you seen had to scare the devil out of you. He said, and I'm so glad you didn't die. But there's something that I left out. And this is why I myself think that girl that came into Chess King showed up on them tracks.
That was my next question.
Because when she stood up and looked over to the right in them thistles, just as I've said before, and I'm going to always say, I'll never be 100% correct, but I am about 95 on what I seen. She had a gold hoop earring in her left ear. That would have been approximately. You ever seen the earrings the ladies used to wear back in the 70s? They had a big afro, them big ass damn hoop.
Oh yeah.
It was like that, but in her ear, it wasn't that big because of the size of her head. It looked like it might have been about that big.
You're telling me that
now I'm not 100% sure because when she turned her head, it was just a quick flash. But for me to see yellow, that would indicate to me gold. And from the shape that I could see in that, it looked round to be. Now, I had to talk to people many times since I gave my counter. Somebody said, what if it was a yellow tag? Okay, I'm willing to accept that. Tags don't, does a tag have a one certain shape? Or do they have a variety of shapes?
Right.
Depending on what you're tagging. So that's all I know about that. And
I tell you what, Roy.
Poor Herman.
Yeah, poor Herman for sure.
Poor Herman.
That guy's probably still messed up.
Did he ever recover? That you know of?
That thing actually killed Herman.
No kidding.
She just didn't do it that night.
Right.
But she killed him for sure that night. But she just didn't physically do it that night.
Right.
But I found out what happened to him, but we'll save that for later because I had to do some research to find that out. And when I found out what happened to him, I literally broke down and cried like I was a baby because nobody should have to live their life like that.
Wow.
No one.
Yeah.
And it literally made, when I think about him sometimes, I get my tissues out, or if I feel it's going to be a pretty good storm, I just break out the paper towels. But I feel for that dude.
Yeah.
I really do, because if that had been me, I would have been praying God to just take me now. Just take me now. Just pull my soul out my body. You can leave the carcass for that monster. Just take my soul out my body so it don't get that. Mm-hmm. I've never seen anything like that in my life. Now, I've seen some videos and some pictures some people have shared with me of some stuff that, well, let's just say I was glad I was at home when I was looking at it on my phone or the computer rather than standing on their property looking at what they were looking at.
That's amazing stuff, man. So much to cover and talk with you about. We could talk on and on about this. We definitely would like to get you back on and go over that journal with you sometime in the future here. But before we wrap it up, what do you think? What do you think this thing was? Do you think it was a flesh and blood creature? Do you think it was a spiritual thing, alien? What's your opinion on it, looking back at this time?
Well, I did never go back to that spot to check for tracks. And I'm never going back. Never, ever, ever, ever. Even though the area is different now, I have researched it. They changed that area quite a bit, but I'm never going back there. But what I think that was is this. Everything your parents tell you don't exist. Everything your girlfriend make fun of you about when you tell her you was out driving an 18-wheeler and seen something run across the road and described it. The worst nightmare that you could ever think. I think that was that girl. Now, I know a lot of people gonna be like, man, no way, no way, no way. So to them, I'm gonna say this. You don't have to believe that. That's what I believe. The only thing I ask you to do is this. Prove to me that she wasn't that thing.
Right.
That's all I ask for you. Prove to me that she wasn't that thing. I've been stood up before, not before then, but I've been stood up since then. But she had the number to the store. I gave her the number to my house. She never came back in the store, and she never contacted me. Now, if it was something that happened and she truly couldn't make it, she gonna call if she was interested in going out on a date with me. But my thing is, why play games? Well, you know how women gonna do. Now, I'm not saying all women. Some women play games. Yeah, we can go out. That's the last time I'm see that dude. I ain't gonna see him no more. So just tell me that. But people is gonna do what they gonna do. So, based upon the reason I say, let me say this real quick. The reason I say that I believe that. One of the reasons I believe that was her. Look at these cases of demonic possession and what a demon is supposed to be able to make a human body do.
Yeah.
The contortions, the spinning, the twisting. A human being can't do that on their own. Even these great contortionists can't do that. So when people say, I just can't imagine a person going from being a human being and then changing into a creature. I'm in Arizona. We got skinwalkers here. We got supposed to have dogmen up north. I've talked to for a few people here that tell me, Native Americans, this is real. You can make a deal with the devil, which is basically what a shaman does to get power to become a skinwalker. So if he's making a deal with the devil, is that not allowing him to allow a demon to take possession of his body to give him that power so that he can change? But yet he's using that person's body to physically change into that creature. Right. I don't know how it works, but imagine a 120-pound woman picking up a pickup truck that then fell off a jack on her husband. But she can't do that under any normal circumstances. That's a chemical change that takes place within the body for you to reach that, tap into that hidden strength.
Right.
So we could talk about this on and on. I got some rebuttals for them, but I'm not going to get into that tonight. But
well, let's
give going to be another hour and a half show.
Let's do this. Let's give our listeners a break on this episode. It was really awesome stuff, and let's get you back on and talk about some more stuff down the road here. How's that sound?
Anytime you want to have me on.
All right, man. Well,
but can I do one thing before we go? Can I do one thing? What I'm asking you is, can I announce my group? I'm starting my group on.
Absolutely.
Now.
What are you doing?
Okay. I'm actually started back R&B's Cryptic Confessions. Anybody that would like to join, I'd love to have you over. I'll try to be the best alpha I can be. Hopefully I can be half as entertaining as Todd and Brian. No, I'm new to it, but if you'd like to come over and join my group and make it grow again, I got some guests lined up to do some live interviews, and I'm actually went out and started doing some field investigating myself. So
awesome.
You guys want to come and
hey, why don't you have us on?
Yeah, I'd love to have you.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll do it.
Most definitely.
Why don't we do the second? Why don't we do the second episode where you interview us and you can talk about that stuff too, and we can chime in.
Yeah, we'll put it on your show too.
Hell yeah. We'll make it a double show.
Holy jumped up bald head Jesus Palomino coming in a Honda. You guys really gonna do that?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we love doing that.
It's a deal. Right. It's a deal. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You just stay in touch with us. We'll figure this out.
Yeah. Stay in touch.
But anyway,
I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here when you get back.
Right on. Well, awesome. Roy, we appreciate you coming on, man, and telling us stuff. This is a great episode. And once again, we thank you so much, man.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me. You guys stay healthy, stay safe, and watch out for the idiots because they're actually more dangerous than these cryptids now.
I believe you. And Roy, as far as your thoughts pattern go, anything's possible. You know, these people have to have an open mind. Anything's possible. So
that's right.
All right, brother. Good talking with you. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, man.
All right. Thank you.
All right, buddy. You take care.
Yeah, we're gonna check your group out too.
All right. Yes, sir. You guys have a great night. Okay.
All right, Roy. You too.
See you, bud.
Thanks.
All right.
Holy cow. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. That was intense.
First of all, I don't know. We got to get Roy back on because I want to know what happened to Herman.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get him back on to hear the rest of that.
Yeah. Actually, we're going to go on his show, right? Hopefully.
Oh, yeah, we are. Yep.
Maybe.
Yep. He's going to start his own little thing, and we're going to go on.
He does. We'll throw it out there for you guys. R&B Cryptic Confessions. Check him out.
Yep.
But yeah, maybe he'll bring us on and we can be a guest on his show and talk more about that stuff in his journal.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I'm ready to be a guest on somebody's show. I want someone to ask me questions.
I know. How come nobody ever invites us? Well, that's not true. We have been invited.
We have. We got to get on those.
Yep.
We've never seen anything per se, but you know, we know some stuff.
No, but we know stuff.
We can talk about things.
That's right.
I mean, Bigfoot, Dogman.
We're not totally.
Jersey Devils, Lizard Man.
Yeah.
Ghosts and whatnot.
The Loch Ness Monster.
I saw a video about a Loch Ness Monster. Faves. Man, I don't know why I don't save these things. I saw this video of this thing breaching water. I think it was probably Photoshop, but man, I tell you what, if it wasn't, it was the real deal.
Actually, I think it's on YouTube.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I did see it. I didn't watch it.
But its tail was kind of like a dolphin at the end. Did you see that?
No, I didn't watch it. I just saw the preview thing. I was working, so I didn't watch it.
Yeah, me too.
So
work.
Yeah. Works for chumps.
Right. Give a shout out to our listeners. We are growing. Thanks everyone. We appreciate
all around the world. All around the world.
Right. Couldn't do this without you. And we love doing this. So keep it up. Share our podcast with your friends and family. Anybody who wants to check us out. And keep on listening. We appreciate it.
Word of mouth is our biggest advertiser.
Absolutely. So. And if you know anybody who's had an encounter, or if you had one yourself, get a hold of us on Facebook, Twitter, email us at info@cryptidcreatures.co.com.
Instagram.
Yep. We're out there. So
check
us out.
Like I said, we are everywhere you want to be.
Everywhere. Brian, thanks again for hanging out with me, man.
Yeah, man. It's always fun.
All right. Can't wait to hang out with you at the show. And
Lexington, Kentucky.
All right, brother. We'll talk soon.
Yep.
See ya.
See ya.